This is K-Man for Peace. Welcome to another session of Let's Talk. Today we have Erane Washington, and she's running for a judge position here in Washtenaw County. Hi, Erane.
Hi. Glad to be here.
And I'm so glad that you came, and welcome.
Thank you.
Can you give us some insight into what it is that you do and how you've come to this position where you want to make a difference as a judge?
Okay, well, that's kind of a long question, so I'll try to shorten it a tad bit and give you a summary. What I do right now is I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law and helping people in need for the past 27 years. I'm a graduate of the University of Michigan Law School. I grew up in Ann Arbor, and then I've been in Ypsilanti Township for the past 27 years.
Fabulous.
So I graduated from Ann Arbor Public Schools, actually. Okay. So that's my background. To answer the question as to how I came to want to help people as a judge, because that's what I see the role as, is a helping position, where we as judges are given an opportunity to provide to those in need, because that's what I think everybody comes to us, either as defendants or victims or complainants or plaintiffs or defendants in civil cases, with a need of either help with issues that are more personal or civil type issues. And the position I'm running for is 14B. Judge. It's a Ypsilanti Township District Court position. Okay. And so in that position, I'd be helping mainly people who have less serious issues going on. So it's for people who have potential misdemeanor charges. Okay. And for people who have civil issues around $25,000 or less. Okay. So that's what that does. There is a larger component, which is why I bring those 27 years of skills. Right. For, it's called preliminary examinations. Okay. With preliminary examinations, people who have been charged with a felony go and sit before district court judges who determine whether those particular charges should be bound over to circuit court. Okay. It sounds a little complicated. It's not that complicated. And the way I break it down for my clients is you have little court and you have big court. District court is the little court. Okay. So when you leave that little court, that little line there that you can't see, it's an invisible line, is the bind over line. Okay. Then you go to big court. Okay. So district court judges decide whether someone's case should go on to big court based on what's called a probable cause standard. Okay. If there's probable cause to believe that someone committed the crime and that they are that particular person. Okay. So how I came to want to do this is based on all my years of experience, having handled all different types of matters, from driving while license suspended to representing people in murders to dealing with I've done divorce work, I've done regular civil work, I've done medical malpractice, I've done all the host of it. I feel like I'm in a great position through my personal life experiences as well as my legal experiences to be able to help folks. And so that's why I came to want to do this. Wow. Long answer.
That is okay, because that's exactly what I would like for my listeners and my viewers to know. Because sometimes people seem to be lost. I got a phone call one day saying, do you know where I can find a lawyer? I'm like, well, I do, but I'm not sure whether or not this lawyer takes on what it is that you're looking for. Like, some people want an estate lawyer, or they're having situations where they have had, certain things, from what I understand, some of their properties have been wiped from under them. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to say to you, but all I can do is give you a phone number, and then you can ask the questions. So this is why that I've, sought you out and asked that you come on this show and explain to us what the difference is, and maybe they can find some clarification in our interview today. Good. The other aspect of what I see, as you yourself see, in the dynamic of people not having affordability to good legal and great, I want to say, the person that cares about actually what happens, not just, hey, you can come through the courtroom, or I can be your lawyer, and then, okay, I'm done with you next. But somebody who really lovingly feels that they want to help the community. What do you expect to give to people that come across your courtroom and say, you know, my life experiences have brought me to this? Within your means, would you be able to show them compassion when it comes down to the kinds of services that they would receive, where I want to say they would get a referral as opposed to a sentence, or instead of it feeling like a punishment, you know, because the way you explain it is that some of them, mental services, are like, they may not know better. What can you speak to that?
So you're talking about what we consider to be equitable issues, sort of creating equity in our system. We have a system that thus far has not really met people where they are and in the space that they're in when they come to you. And so what I'm able to do as a judge is to look at that person's individual unique needs and say, okay, in this particular situation, we see that you may have a substance use disorder. Or in this particular situation, we may see that you have some mental health issues going on. Or in this particular situation, you're missing some resources. Now, I want to clarify to you that a sentence does not necessarily mean jail. And sometimes people equate the word sentence
You know where
to
I'm
jail,
going. Thank
right?
you.
So sentence can mean giving people access to what we call those specialty or problem-solving courts. Those are the courts like mental health court or recovery court, and there are veterans courts. Now, every jurisdiction doesn't have all of those particular courts, but they can have some of those courts. For instance, out in 14B District Court right now, there is currently a recovery court. And that is for people who have substance use disorders. In Ann Arbor, there's a mental health court. But Ann Arbor's kind of far away. And when we talk about the equity issues, this is one of the things that has to be taken into consideration. That people who have low socioeconomic statuses sometimes don't have cars. They can't get to Ann Arbor. So we need to make sure that we have availability of services over here. Now, understanding that we have a budget in 14B, that's always got to be taken into consideration, right? You have to realize that services are going to come into play when funding comes into play. And so funding for these types of courts generally comes from the state. So a grant application has to be made and put into the court at the state level, and then the state will decide whether or not our jurisdiction is going to get that type of court. And so that's where it comes into play about what's called concurrent specialty courts, wherein you may have a combined recovery court and mental health court at the same time. And so my goal is to figure out what the needs of this community are. And I, being someone who's worked with all the various populations, from the poorest to the richest, to be honest, I've seen a host of people who have needs for mental health services over in this area. And we need to do the work to get those services over here. So I've started that process already. Because I don't believe being a judge is about sitting in that courtroom and not really reaching out to the people. So that's another piece of what I bring. I'm able to meet the people in the courtroom and go out in the community and figure out what the needs are and develop collaborative partnerships with other people in the community who can bring those services. For instance, I had a fundraiser at my home for NAMI. If you're familiar with what NAMI is, it's the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And what they do is it's a non-clinical program, but it provides support services, and it also provides peer-to-peer types of programming and family-to-family counseling.
That is so wonderful.
Exactly. And so I worked with Judy, and I always bring up Judy's name because I think she's great at what she does. She has a passion for the people. She has compassion
and I'm
for
loving
the people.
what I'm hearing. I'm getting chill, but I'm just listening. Come on, come on with it.
So we had a fundraiser and we raised some money for her. And then after that, she was able to get a grant through Community Mental Health to be able to bring those services over here to the eastern side of the county because we are missing those services here. So we bring the services here so that she can help on the front end. And if need be, we can also have a collaboration with some work being done within the courts themselves. Now, the benefit of NAMI is that this is a peer-to-peer volunteer, family volunteer. So you train volunteer people to help.
Okay.
They have some grant money, but then you collaborate with the community to help
Exactly.
with those. So I want to be able to help people with their, to be able to make trauma-informed decisions so that they don't make poor decisions as much. I'm not suggesting to anybody that I'm a hero and things are going to change
Oh,
overnight,
hey,
but
it takes
it's
one
about
person at a time.
right, to make that difference. And so that's what I'm up to.
Okay, that's